You are looking at a creature that has decided his life is worth more than a meal. Look at the footage. You've seen this bird, while thousands of other penguins are rushing toward the ocean, screaming, fighting for the same fish, following the same leader, and dying in the same predictable way. But then this one penguin stops. He turns his back on the water, ignores the common sense of his species, and begins a 70-kilometer march toward the mountains. There is no food there. There is no warmth there. Just a slow, cold walk into the unknown. Most people look at this penguin heading for the mountains and see a tragedy. They see a bird that has lost its mind. They want to run out there, grab him, and pull him back to the safety of the group. But Nietzsche looks at him and sees a sovereign. He sees a creature that has finally developed a will. A will is not about working hard or grinding. A will is the ability to look at 1,000 people telling you no and not even hearing them. It is the ability to see a path that doesn't exist on any map and walk it anyway, because your internal vision is more real than the world around you. This is what you lack. You have a wish, not a will. You wish you were successful. You wish you were respected. You wish you were free. But your will is still owned by the crowd. You check your phone to see what the crowd thinks. You dress the way the crowd likes. You speak in a way that doesn't offend the crowd. You are a slave who has fallen in love with his chains. The penguin didn't lose his way. He realized that the shore is where you go to survive, but the mountain is where you go to become. He realized that as long as he stayed on that beach, he was just a number, a piece of meat in a huddle, waiting for his turn to be forgotten. He chose the silence of the peaks over the safety of the crowd. He chose those 70 kilometers of isolation because he knew that in that distance he would find the one thing the colony could never give him, the absolute ownership of his own will. You've been told your whole life that being alone is a defect. You've been trained to fear the silence. You've been conditioned to believe that if you aren't part of the huddle, you are broken. But the truth is much darker. The ocean is crowded. The ocean is noisy. At the shore, you are just one of 10,000, fighting for the same scraps, following the same blind leaders, and dying in the same predictable, pathetic way. The colony is a social contract designed to keep you safe, but it's actually a cage designed to keep you static. It is a factory that produces average souls. Stop lying to yourself. You are not staying for them. You're staying because you're afraid of the silence. In the colony, there is always noise. There is always someone to complain to, someone to gossip with, someone to validate your excuses. The noise keeps you from hearing the terrifying truth that you are currently wasting the only life you will ever have. The penguin chose the silence. He chose the 70 kilometers of isolation because he realized that the noise of the crowd was actually the sound of his own soul being ground into dust. Right now, you are standing on that same beach. You are being held down by a group of people who need you to stay on the beach so they don't have to face the mountain alone. Every time you try to level up, every time you try to change your life, the colony pulls you back in. They use your decency as a leash. They use your friendship as an anchor. Most of you are terrified of that silence. You are terrified of the moment you stop hearing the opinions of the herd and start hearing the weight of your own thoughts. You stay at the beach because you've been told that being alone is a failure. You've been lied to. In the world of the great, isolation isn't a punishment. It is a filtering process. It is the furnace that burns away everything in you that isn't yours. In the next few minutes, we are going to strip away the lies you've been told about belonging and community. We are going to expose the social chains that are currently holding you back from your own great breakout. We are going to explore why your deepest growth only happens when you are willing to walk away from everyone you know. We are going to look at the cold, hard reality of why isolation is the only way to hear your own voice above the screaming of the herd. Nietzsche understood that the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. If you feel a cold shiver down your spine as I say this, it's because you know I'm right. You know that the person you were meant to be is waiting 70 kilometers inland, and the only thing standing in your way is your fear of the silence. The walk is 70 kilometers. There is no map. There is only the mountain, and the version of you that is waiting at the top. The shore is behind you. The mountain is ahead. It's time to stop surviving and start becoming. Let's begin the march. The mountain is not a destination, it is a filter. It is designed to kill everything in you that isn't essential. When you walk alone, you lose the luxury of excuses. There is no one to blame when you stumble. There is no one to carry you when you're tired. There is only you and the ice, and in that absolute isolation, something happens. The you that was constructed by your parents, your teachers, and your fake friends begins to freeze and fall away. What is left is the raw, uncut steel of your true character. You have been taught that being alone is a punishment. You were sent to your room as a child when you were bad. You were ghosted or excluded when you didn't fit in. You have been conditioned to fear the absence of others. But in the world of the elite, isolation is the ultimate leverage. If you cannot be alone, you can be controlled. If you need the crowd's applause to feel worthy, the crowd owns you. They can grant your worth and they can take it away. But the man who has walked 70 kilometers into the mountains and stared down his own shadow, that man is dangerous. He cannot be bought. He cannot be shamed. He cannot be silenced. The crowd offers you warmth, but it is the warmth of a compost pile. It is the heat of decay. You feel comfortable right now because you are rotting at the same speed as everyone else. The penguin realized that he'd rather freeze to death as a king than rot to death as a servant. He understood that the cold of the mountain is a clean cold. It's a cold that sharpens the senses. It's a cold that demands you become more than what you were. You are currently huddling for warmth in a grave. You think you're being safe, but you're just making it easier for the world to bury you. Every time you say, "I can't leave yet," or "I need to wait for the right time," you are just digging deeper. There is no right time to turn your back on the ocean. There is no safe way to walk into a frozen wasteland. There is only the decision. The moment you stop looking at the birds next to you and start looking at the peaks in the distance. This is the brutal truth that the world doesn't want you to hear. You were born for the mountain, but you have been trained for the beach. You have been fed the fish of mediocrity for so long that you've forgotten you have the strength to hunt for something greater. You have been told that your uniqueness is a liability, but it is actually your only real currency. The penguin didn't have a reason he could explain to the colony. He couldn't give them a PowerPoint presentation on why the mountain was better. He just had an internal command that became louder than the collective scream of the herd. Do you have that command? Or are you just a hollow shell vibrating to the frequency of everyone else's expectations? Right now, you are making a choice. By continuing to listen to this, you are acknowledging that the beach is no longer enough. You are admitting that the huddle feels like a cage, but listening is not walking. Understanding the lesson is not the same as executing the breakout. You can know everything about Nietzsche. You can understand every word I say, and you can still die on that beach with the rest of them. The penguin is already 10 kilometers out. He isn't waiting for you. The mountain doesn't care if you show up. The universe is perfectly happy to let you live a small, safe, insignificant life and then vanish without a trace. If you want to matter, you have to be willing to be wrong in the eyes of everyone you know. You have to be willing to be the crazy one, the selfish one, the lost one. Because the only thing worse than being alone in the mountains is being surrounded by 1,000 people and still feeling like a ghost. Turn around. Look at the peaks. They are tall, they are indifferent, and they are beautiful. They represent the version of you that doesn't need permission to exist, the version of you that has found its will to power. But to get there, you have to take that first step away from the crowd. You have to feel the cold air hit your face and realize that for the first time in your life, you are the one choosing the direction. To walk alone is to reclaim your vision. When you are alone, you no longer have to filter your thoughts through the approval of the weak. You no longer have to dim your light so you don't blind the people standing next to you. In the silence of the 70-kilometer march, the voices of the colony finally begin to fade, and for the first time in your life, you can hear your own heart. If you want to own your life, you must first own your solitude. You must become comfortable with the fact that as you walk toward your mountain, the crowd will stay on the beach, pointing and laughing, until you are high enough that they can no longer see you. And that is the moment you win. In your daily life, this looks like the subtle pressure to be realistic. It's the voice of your friends telling you not to work so hard, or the look on your family's faces when you suggest a path that doesn't involve a 9 to 5 and a mortgage. They aren't trying to help you. They are trying to keep the colony together. Because the moment one penguin turns toward the mountain, it proves that the shore isn't the only option. And if the shore isn't the only option, then everyone staying behind is a coward. Pay attention. We are just beginning to peel back the layers of your conditioning. You are starting to see the cracks in the colony's wall. Don't look back at the birds on the beach. They are already dead. Their fate is sealed. Yours is still being written, but only if you have the stomach to keep walking. The march is long, the ice is thick, but the sovereignty at the end is worth every agonizing step. Lock in. We are moving deeper into the cold. Most people return to the beach within the first hour because they cannot handle the nausea of autonomy. They realize that without the herd telling them what to do, they have no direction. They are like a compass without a magnetic north. They feel lost, not because they lack a map, but because they lack a master. They have spent so long obeying the thou shalt of the colony that the I will of the individual feels like a death sentence. This is why you see people leave toxic environments, only to crawl back to them weeks later. It's not that they love the toxicity, it's that they are terrified of the void that comes with being a sovereign being. They would rather be a slave in a warm huddle than a king in a cold vacuum. The will to power is not about dominating others, it is about the internal conquest of your own cowardice. The penguin walking toward the mountain is a creature that has declared war on its own biological drive for safety. Every cell in its body is screaming to turn back. Every instinct is howling that it is making a mistake. But the will has overridden the instinct. This is the definition of the overman. To be an overman is to be the bridge between the animal and the divine. To be a creature that can look at its own survival mechanism and say, I have a higher priority than staying alive. What is your higher priority? If you cannot name it, you are still a beast of the field. If your highest priority is comfort, you are a slave to your nervous system. If your highest priority is being liked, you are a slave to the approval of people who are just as confused as you are. The mountain demands that you find a value that is greater than your pulse. It demands that you find something worth freezing for. The crowd hates the lone walker because he represents the evil of independence. In the colony, good is defined as anything that preserves the huddle. Evil is anything that threatens it. Therefore, the individual is inherently evil. Your desire to be great, your urge to be alone, your refusal to compromise, these are seen as selfish or antisocial. They will try to pathologize your ambition. They will call you depressed because you don't want to attend their mindless gatherings. They will call you arrogant because you no longer value their feedback. They are trying to pull you back into the slave morality, where the weak are protected and the strong are shamed into submission. The brutal truth is that you have been living a life of resentment. You resent the crowd for holding you back, but you stay with them because you are too weak to face the isolation of the peak. You are waiting for the crowd to give you permission to be great. You are waiting for someone to hand you a fast pass to the mountain that doesn't involve the 70 kilometers of ice. It doesn't exist. There is no elevator to the top of your potential. There is only the long, grueling process of self-overcoming. Nietzsche described the three metamorphoses of the spirit: the camel, the lion, and the child. Most of you are currently camels. You are beasts of burden, kneeling in the sand, asking to be loaded with the values and responsibilities of others. You take pride in how much you can carry for the colony. You think your suffering for the sake of the herd makes you a martyr. It doesn't. It makes you a pack animal. The march to the mountain is the transition from the camel to the lion. The lion is the one who says, I will. The lion is the one who fights the great dragon called Thou Shalt. Every scale on that dragon is a social rule, a moral code, or a tradition that has been burned into your brain since birth. The lion's job is to slay that dragon so that the spirit can finally become a child, a new beginning, a self-propelled wheel, a sacred yes to life. The penguin is in the lion phase. He has looked at the dragon of the colony, the dragon that says you must stay at the shore, and he has roared back. He is not walking toward the mountain to find a new master. He is walking there to become the creator of his own values. You are currently being crushed by the weight of values that aren't yours. You are exhausted because you are carrying a good and a bad, that were handed to you by a society that doesn't care about your soul. You are trying to be a good son, a good employee, a good friend according to their definitions, and it is killing you. The exhaustion you feel isn't from hard work, it is from the internal friction of living a lie. The mountain is where that friction ends. On the ice there is no good or bad, there is only what is strong and what is weak, what helps you climb and what makes you fall. Nietzsche warned that the herd is allergic to the outlier. To them, the penguin walking toward the mountain isn't an inspiration, he is a threat. His movement exposes their paralysis. If he succeeds, their entire way of life is revealed as a coward's bargain. So they will try to save you. They will try to shame you back into the huddle. They will use your own empathy as a weapon against you, making you feel that by choosing the mountain you are abandoning them. But let's be direct, you cannot abandon people who refuse to move. You are only leaving behind the anchors. When you decide to walk alone, you aren't just changing your location, you are changing your value system. At the shore, value is determined by how well you follow. On the mountain, value is determined by how well you lead yourself. Most of you have never led yourselves for a single day in your lives. You have been reactive since the moment you were born. You react to your notifications, you react to your boss, you react to the moods of your partners. You are a leaf in the wind, calling yourself a pilot. The great breakout requires you to stop reacting and start asserting. The penguin didn't wait for a sign. He didn't wait for a leader to tell him it was time. He looked at the horizon. He felt the pull of the peaks, and he asserted his will. He made a decision that was beyond good and evil. It wasn't good to leave the colony, and it wasn't evil to ignore the huddle. It was simply necessary. You are currently paralyzed by the need to be right in the eyes of people who are fundamentally wrong about everything. You are waiting for a consensus that will never come. The crowd will never give you permission to be greater than them. They will never vote for your independence. If you want sovereignty, you have to take it. You have to be willing to be the villain in their story so that you can be the hero in yours. The 70-kilometer march is the ultimate test of your internal authority. On the beach, you have mirrors. You see yourself through the eyes of others. You know who you are because they tell you. But 10 kilometers into the ice, the mirrors vanish. There is no one to tell you that you're doing a good job. There is no one to clap for your progress. There is only the wind and the silence. This is where most people turn back. They realize they don't actually like themselves enough to be alone with themselves. They realize that without the crowd's validation, they are hollow. If you are hollow, the mountain will break you. But if you have the will to power, the silence will fill you. The silence is where you find the version of yourself that doesn't need to perform. It is where you find the strength that doesn't depend on outside circumstances. When you are alone in the cold, your survival depends entirely on your clarity. You cannot afford the luxury of self-delusion. You cannot pretend to be something you aren't when the environment is trying to kill you. This is why the elite seek isolation. It is the only place where the truth cannot be hidden. You have been running from the truth for years. You've been using the noise of the colony to drown out the fact that you are deeply, fundamentally unsatisfied. You've been using connections to fill a hole that only achievement can plug. You think you need more friends, more networking, more community. You don't. You need the mountain. You need a challenge that is so big it makes your social anxieties look like the trivial distractions they are. The brutal truth is that the crowd is holding you back because you are letting them. You are using their presence as an excuse for your own lack of movement. It's easier to say, "I can't leave my responsibilities," than it is to admit you're terrified of what you'll find in the silence. It's easier to huddle for warmth than it is to build your own fire. But look at the cost. Look at the people who have stayed on the beach for 40 years. They are bitter, they are tired, and they are invisible. They have spent their lives following the bird in front of them, and they have arrived nowhere. They are survivors of a life that wasn't worth surviving. Is that what you want? To be a well-fed bird in a crowded grave? The penguin is moving. Every step he takes is an act of defiance against a world that demands he be ordinary. Every mile he covers is a victory over the slave morality that says you must stay with the pack. He is not lost. He is the only one who is found. He is mapping a territory that the colony doesn't even know exists. You need to understand that the mountain is not a place of peace. It is a place of struggle. It is a place where you will face your deepest insecurities, your darkest fears, and your most painful regrets. But it is also the only place where you can find vitality. Real life is not found in the comfort of the huddle. It is found at the edge of your capabilities. It is found in the moment you realize that you don't need the shore to survive. Stop asking the crowd for directions to a place they've never been. Stop asking for advice from people who are too afraid to even look at the mountain. Their maps are useless. Their wisdom is just a collection of survival strategies for the weak. If you want to be a master, you must be willing to be a pioneer. You must be willing to walk off the edge of the known world and trust that your will is enough to see you through. The transition from herd to individual is the most painful experience a human can endure. It feels like a death because it is a death. You are killing the person you were taught to be so that the person you actually are can breathe. The crowd will mourn you. They will say you've changed. They will say you're not the person they used to know. Good, that means you're winning. If the people from your past still recognize you, you haven't walked far enough. If you still care about their opinions, you're still huddling on the beach. The goal is to reach a height where their voices are just a faint, insignificant buzzing in the distance. The goal is to be so far gone into your own sovereignty that you don't even remember the warmth of the huddle. The pressure is increasing. Most would have quit by now, but you are still here. That means there is something in you that recognizes the mountain. There is a part of you that is already walking. Don't look back. The beach is a memory. The mountain is the only reality. We are going higher. You have been told that your will is a danger to the community, and you have believed it. You have suppressed your hunger, your vision, and your aggression because the colony demands harmony. But in the world of the mountain, harmony is just another word for death. The mountain doesn't want you to fit in. It wants to see if you can stand up. Nietzsche warned that the higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. As you continue this 70-kilometer march, you must accept a harsh physical reality. The further you go, the more monstrous you become to the people you left behind. When you are on the shore, you are understandable. You are relatable. You are one of us. But the moment you are 10 miles deep into the ice, you speak a language the colony no longer understands. Your priorities shift from survival through others to creation through self. To the bird in the huddle, you don't look like a hero. You look like a threat to the natural order. This is the point where most people break. They reach the zone of social death, the distance where they can no longer hear the cheers of the crowd, but they haven't yet felt the power of the peak. They are in the middle of the ice, surrounded by nothing but their own breath. This is where the psychological pressure becomes lethal. Without the validation of the herd, your ego begins to starve. You start to ask, is it worth it? Am I actually crazy? What if the huddle was right? The brutal truth is that your ego must starve. The ego is the part of you that was built by the crowd. It is the part of you that lives on likes, nods, and agreements. On the mountain, that ego is a liability. It is heavy, it is demanding, and it is weak. The penguin doesn't have an ego, he has a will. He isn't walking to prove a point to the birds on the beach. He isn't walking to show them, he is walking because the mountain is there, and staying on the beach has become an insult to his existence. Do not look for a sign that you are on the right path. The absence of a crowd is your sign. The increasing difficulty of the terrain is your sign. The fact that the people on the beach no longer recognize you is your sign. If you feel like you are becoming a stranger to your own life, you are finally getting somewhere. You are finally becoming the lone penguin. You are currently addicted to the drug of being understood. You think that if you can just explain your vision to your friends, they will support you. You think if you can just make your family understand why you need to walk alone, they will give you their blessing. You are wasting your breath. The herd cannot understand the mountain because the herd only understands the huddle. To ask for their understanding is to give them power over your journey. It is a form of slave morality, seeking permission from the weak to be strong. Nietzsche's overman does not explain. He does not justify. He simply is. His actions are his only argument. The 70-kilometer march is the process of self-cannibalism. You are eating the parts of yourself that were made in the colony to fuel the parts of yourself that are made in the mountain. You are burning your need for approval. You are burning your fear of being judged. You are burning the polite version of yourself that smiles when it wants to snarl. This is a painful, violent process. It is not self-care, it is self-surgery. Look at your daily life. How many fish are you accepting from the colony just to avoid the hunger of the march? You accept the fish of a mediocre salary because the mountain of entrepreneurship is too cold. You accept the fish of a hollow relationship because the mountain of solitude is too quiet. You are trading your sovereignty for a full stomach and a numb mind. The penguin looked at the fish and saw a bribe. He realized that as long as he was being fed by the colony, he was owned by the colony. True power is the ability to be hungry. If you cannot handle the hunger of the spirit, the period where you have left the old life but haven't yet mastered the new one, you will always be a servant. The lethal lesson of the lone penguin is that he accepted the possibility of death over the certainty of stagnation. He understood that the mountain might kill him, but the beach would definitely erase him. The great breakout is not a single event. It is a continuous state of being. You have to break out every single morning. You have to wake up and decide that today, the opinions of the unlived lives around you do not weigh a single gram. You have to decide that your will is the only law in your universe. This is what Nietzsche called the transvaluation of all values. You stop using the world's dictionary to define success or failure. You create your own. On the mountain, success is the ability to take one more step when your legs are numb. Failure is looking back at the beach with longing. The crowd will tell you that you are cold-hearted. They will say you've changed. They will say you've become hard. Let them. Their warmth is just the heat of a crowded room with no ventilation. Their softness is just the lack of a spine. The hardness you are developing is the armor of the overman. It is the skin you need to survive the altitudes where the air is thin and the light is blinding. You have been socialized to be accessible. You've been trained to be responsive. You are expected to be available to every emergency the colony creates. But the penguin in the mountain is unreachable. He has deleted the colony's ability to contact him. His focus is singular. His trajectory is absolute. Are you unreachable? Or can any idiot with a smartphone pull you back to the beach with a single notification? The will to power requires a sacred number. You must say no to the good people who want to waste your time. You must say no to the reasonable path that leads to a common grave. You must say no to the part of yourself that still wants to be part of the group. That no is the wall that protects your yes. The penguin is halfway there. The colony is now a tiny dark smear on the distant horizon. He can no longer hear their noise. He can no longer smell their rot. For the first time, he is truly alone. And in that aloneness, he is truly free. He is no longer a penguin in the biological sense. He is a force of nature. He has become the mountain he is walking toward. You are still too close to the shore. You are still listening for the echoes of the crowd. You are still wondering what they will think when they see you're gone. Stop looking back. The birds on the beach are already ghosts. They are the past. You are the future. But the future is only for those who can survive the present ice. Lock in. The pressure is increasing because the altitude is rising. The nausea is passing, and in its place is a cold, clear lucidity. You are starting to see the world as it really is, not as the colony described it. You are starting to see that power isn't something you get from others. It is something you uncover within yourself when everyone else is gone. The march is 70 kilometers. You've only just begun. The mountain is waiting, and it does not accept the weak. Let's keep moving. In the huddle, you are governed by the law of the other. Your actions were a response to their needs, their fears, and their judgments. But as you approach the base of the mountain, you realize that those laws were never yours. They were merely the walls of the cage. Nietzsche's overman is the one who has the stomach to look into the empty sky and instead of trembling, begins to write his own commandments. You are no longer asking, what is right? You are declaring, this is mine. This is the high IQ transition from being a piece on the board to being the one who decides the game exists. The 70-kilometer mark is the psychological threshold where loneliness transforms into dominance. Loneliness is the cry of a creature that still wants to be part of the colony. Dominance is the silence of a creature that has realized it is the center of its own universe. Real-life power isn't found in the boardrooms or the networking events of the coast. It is found in the moments when you are completely alone, staring at a problem that would break a normal man, and finding that you are not afraid. You have developed what the elite call internal locus of control, the absolute conviction that your will is the primary cause of your reality. The mountain is now looming over you, its peaks jagged and indifferent. It represents the great objective, that singular crystalline purpose that defines your life. For the penguin, it is a geological fact. For you, it is the empire you are building, the craft you are mastering, or the legacy you are carving out of the ice of a mediocre world. To reach it, you must abandon the sunk cost of your old life. You cannot climb with the baggage of your old reputation. You cannot climb while trying to stay relatable to the people you left behind. Relatability is the anchor of the average. If the people at the beach still understand you, you aren't high enough yet. Think about the high-stakes decisions you faced in your career or your relationships. Whenever you sought consensus, you diluted your power. Whenever you asked for advice from people who hadn't made the march, you invited the frostbite of their doubt into your heart. The mountain teaches you that the higher you go, the more wrong you will appear to those below you. From the beach, the penguin at the base of the mountain looks like a speck of dust about to be crushed. From the mountain, the colony looks like a stagnant pool of wasted potential. Your perspective is your power. If you still care how you look from the beach, you have already stopped climbing. We are nearing the final ascent. This is where the great breakout becomes the great becoming. You are no longer walking away from something, you are walking toward the total integration of your will. You are discovering that the cold was never your enemy. It was the tool that hardened your spirit. The isolation wasn't a punishment. It was the clearing of the noise so you could finally hear the frequency of your own genius. You are becoming a self-propelled wheel, a creature that generates its own momentum and defines its own success. But the most dangerous part of the journey is the final stretch before the peak. This is where the ego tries to stage a coup. It will tell you that you've gone far enough. It will tell you that you've proven your point and can now return to the huddle as a hero. This is a trap. If you return now, you will just be a slightly more sophisticated slave. The mountain doesn't want your participation, it wants your total transformation. You must be willing to disappear into the heights so completely that the you who started this march is gone forever. Keep moving. The air is cold, the path is steep, and the silence is absolute. But as we reach the base of this peak, we are about to uncover the ultimate secret of the lone penguin, the truth about what happens to a mind when it finally reaches the top and realizes there is no one left to obey. We are about to see what it looks like when a human being stops being a member and starts being a master. The view from the top is not for the faint of heart, but it is the only view that matters. The final movement is ahead. You are standing at the threshold of the ultimate isolation. The 70 kilometers of frozen waste are behind you, and the base of the mountain is beneath your feet. The huddle on the beach is now so far away, it has ceased to exist. Their voices, their judgments, their sensible warnings have been bleached out of your mind by the pure white silence of the march. Most men die before they reach this point. Not a physical death, but a spiritual one, a surrender to the comfortable rot of the colony. But you have survived. You have reached the elevation where the only thing left to conquer is the vacuum of your own freedom. This is where the will to power stops being a concept and becomes a physical weight. On the beach, you were a reaction. You were good because you were afraid of being bad. You were hard-working because you were afraid of being alone. All your virtues were just shadows cast by your fears. But here, in the thin air of the peak, there is no one left to fear. There is no one to impress. There is no one to punish you. This is the great fear that sends the weak running back to the huddle. The fear of realizing that if you don't give your life a meaning, it doesn't have one. Nietzsche called this the death of God. But for you, it is the death of the master. It is the moment you realize that the rules you've lived by were just the opinions of dead men and the insecurities of living cowards. The colony gave you a pre-packaged purpose, so you wouldn't have to face the terrifying responsibility of creating your own. They gave you a path so you wouldn't have to look at the trackless snow. But the penguin at the peak doesn't look for a path. He is the path. Look at your life. How many times have you stopped yourself from taking a massive risk because you were worried about how you would explain the failure to people you don't even respect? How many great ideas have you buried because they didn't fit into the group chat logic? You have been treating your life like a communal project. You have been letting people with zero vision vote on your future. The mountain demands that you dissolve the committee. It demands that you become a self-propelled wheel. The brutal truth is that you have been using the crowd as an excuse for your own stagnation. You say you can't start the business, leave the relationship, or move to the new city because you have obligations, but the only real obligation you have is to the overman that is currently suffocating inside you. Every time you prioritize the comfort of the herd over the growth of your own will, you are committing a crime against your own existence. You are choosing to be a last man, a creature that seeks only happiness and security and easy fish on the shore. The penguin at the peak has found the sacred yes. This is the third metamorphosis of the spirit, the child. After the camel has carried the burdens, and after the lion has killed the dragon of thou shalt, the spirit becomes a child, a new beginning, a game, a creator of its own values. To the colony, this looks like madness. They see a bird standing on a rock in a blizzard, looking at the sky, and they think he is lost. They don't realize he has finally found his own north. You are being called to enter this state of sacred play, to live your life not as a duty to others, but as a masterpiece for yourself. This requires a level of healthy selfishness that the herd will never forgive. They will call you cold. They will call you detached. They will say you've changed. Let them. Their warmth is the temperature of a graveyard. Their connection is the friction of two people who are both afraid of being alone. Your cold is the clarity of a diamond. The elite do not ask for permission to exist. They do not wait for the right timing. They understand that timing is a tool, not a master. When you reach the peak of your own isolation, you realize that success is not a destination you arrive at. It is a quality of your will. It is the ability to say, "This is my way, where is yours?" For the way that does not exist. If you are still looking for the proper way to be successful, you are still a camel. You are still looking for a master to load you up. This is the closing strike to your old self. The mountain doesn't care if you survive the night. The universe is perfectly indifferent to your potential. It will happily let you waste your life in the huddle, complaining about what could have been, until you are eventually recycled back into the dirt. The only thing that can force a meaning out of this cold, indifferent reality is your will. The penguin didn't find the mountain, he created the mountain by deciding it was worth the walk. You have been waiting for a sign to be great. This is it. The fact that you have listened to this far, the fact that you feel the cold air of the isolation hitting your lungs, that is the only sign you will ever get. The colony is a sinking ship. The huddle is a slow-motion execution. The only high ground left is the one you carve out for yourself in the silence. Thank you for
Ma
having the
dai, nemoj
discipline
me
to
jebati
stay until
više,
the end.
jebote
Most
sunce
people
te
turned
jeblo.
this off 10 minutes ago because the brutal truth
Jebote,
started to
Bog,
hurt.
50
They went
granata,
back
ne
to the
možeš
beach.
probiti
They
dvije
went
od
back
njih.
to the huddle. They went back to the easy fish. But you are still here. You have earned the
Jebem
right to
ti
see the
sunce
peak.
I kad me
Acknowledge
jebeš,
your
znači
own
ovako
strength for
pravo.
even being able to stare at
Šta
this
god da
reality
uradiš, ne
without
može,
blinking.
ne može.
If you align with this frequency, if you are ready to stop being a reaction and start being a master, then align with this channel, like the video, and subscribe. This is not a request for
Ma
support.
daj ovo.
It is a signal of
15,
alignment.
13,
It is your
11.
way of saying that you have turned your
15,
back
10,
on the
5.
shore
Neće,
and you are
neće,
moving toward
neće.
the mountain. For those who want to go deeper, those who want the actual blueprints for the great breakout, and access to the inner circle where we discuss the moves the herd is too afraid to name, join the membership. The link is in the description. This is the place for the lone penguins. It is where the overmen gather to sharpen their wills and map the territory that others call impossible. You can stay outside in the noise, or you can join the circle of the sovereign. The door is open for the few who can handle the cold. The penguin didn't look back at the beach to see if he was being watched. He didn't care about his legacy or his brand. He just walked until he was the only thing left. Go and do the same. Delete the noise. Embrace the silence. The 70 kilometers are behind you. The peak is yours. The huddle is over. The mountain is calling. Now go and become what you are. Look at your life. You're tired, you're stressed, and you're broke. And yet you still hold on to this idea that working hard is your ticket out. You think that if you just put in more hours and sweat a little more, someone will finally notice and reward you. Wake up. The people at the top didn't get there by working harder than you. They got there by making sure you worked harder for them. While you're proud of being the first one in and the last one out, your boss is at home, getting rich off the hours of your life you'll never get back. Machiavelli knew a truth that your parents were too scared to tell you. Hard work is for the people who don't know how to use leverage. If you are the most reliable worker in the room, you are also the most trapped. Why would they ever promote you when they can keep you in the trenches doing the work of 3 people for the price of 1? Right now, as you sit there exhausted and drained, someone is getting rich off the virtue you call a work ethic. They told you that if you just bled a little more, if you just stayed a little later, the world would eventually recognize your value and hand you a crown. They lied. The world doesn't reward the person who carries the heaviest stones. It rewards the person who owns the quarry. Today, we stop the machine. We are burning the manual of the servant. We are going to expose the 3 psychological traps that keep you working like a slave while dreaming like a king. I am going to show you how to stop being useful and start being dangerous. By the time this is over, the word hard work will taste like ash in your mouth, and you will finally understand why the most powerful man in the room isn't the one doing the most work, it's the one who controls the people doing it. If you want to keep being a star employee while your life slips away, scroll past. But if you want to learn how to own the game instead of playing it, stay. Because the first step to freedom is realizing that your hustle is just a fancy word for slavery. You need to understand the 3 psychological traps that have turned your brain into a prison. These aren't just mistakes, they are built-in features of a system designed to keep you productive but powerless. The first trap is the ethics of the earnest. This is the voice in your head that says, if I do a good job, I will be rewarded. It's a fairy tale for children. In the arena of power, doing a good job only earns you more work. Look at your own office. Who gets the extra projects? Who gets the emergency calls on a Saturday? It's not the incompetent guy, it's you. Because you've proven you will take the weight. You've taught everyone around you that your time has no value because you give it away so easily in exchange for a good job email. You are addicted to the praise of people who are using you as a footstool. You think you are building a reputation, but you are actually just building a cage. The more reliable you are, the more invisible you become as a candidate for leadership. Leaders don't do the work, they manage the pressure. By taking the work, you are telling the world you are a follower. If you finally realize that your sweat is just someone else's lubricant, then drop this in the comments, slave no more. The second trap is the illusion of the ladder. You've been told that success is a steady climb. You think that if you just master your current role, the next one is yours. But the ladder is a treadmill. While you are focusing on your tasks and your KPIs, the real players are focusing on their relationships and their optics. You are so busy looking down at your desk that you haven't noticed that the people being promoted over you aren't the best workers, they are the best positioners. They know how to speak the language of the elite, while you are still speaking the language of the labor. You are perfecting your craft, while they are perfecting their control. Think about the last time a promotion came up. Did it go to the person who did the most overtime, or did it go to the person who knew the boss's vision and spent their time making the boss feel secure? You are being outplayed because you believe the lie that merit is what moves the needle. Merit is a tool used by owners to keep the workers competing with each other. It keeps you focused on the person next to you instead of the person above you. The third trap is the sunk cost of suffering. This is the most dangerous one. You've put so much effort into your current path, so many sleepless nights, so much stress, that you feel like you can't stop now. You feel like if you stop working this hard, all that previous pain was for nothing. You are literally doubling down on a losing hand because you're too proud to admit you were tricked. You've bought into the hustle culture that tells you sleep is for the weak and that the grind is a lifestyle. But look at the results. Is your bank account changing as fast as your stress levels? Is your status in the community rising, or are you just becoming the person everyone knows they can dump their problems on? Your suffering isn't an investment, it's a tax. And you are paying it to a world that doesn't even know your name. You are sacrificing your health, your youth, and your peace for the hope that one day the people who are farming your energy will decide you've had enough. They won't. They will milk you until you are dry and then find a fresh replacement. This is the reality you are living in. You are a king who has been convinced he is a servant. You are sitting on a throne of potential, but you're too busy cleaning the floor to realize it. The machine wants you to stay tired. A tired person doesn't rebel. A tired person doesn't plan. A tired person just tries to survive until Friday. Stop the machine, right now. Admit to yourself that you've been playing by the wrong rules. Admit that your work ethic has been a weapon used against you. This isn't about being lazy, it's about being strategic. It's about realizing that the most valuable thing you own is not your labor, but your scarcity. The more available you are, the less you are worth. The harder you work, the more you drive down your own price. From this moment, you need to change your relationship with effort. You need to start seeing every task as a potential trap. Ask yourself, does doing this move me closer to power, or does it just make someone else's life easier? If the answer is the latter, you are being farmed. You need to develop a cold eye for your own actions. Stop doing the extra. Stop being the hero of the office. The hero is the first one to die in the story. You don't want to be the hero. You want to be the architect. You've been taught that ambition means doing more. I'm telling you that true ambition means owning more, and you cannot own anything if you are too busy doing everything. You are currently a slave to your own competence. People come to you because you're good at it. Every time you say yes to a task because you're good at it, you are signing another day of your life over to someone else's vision. The audit is just beginning. You've seen the traps. You've felt the bars of the cage. Now you have to decide if you're going to stay inside because it's safe, or if you're ready to learn the language of the owners. The world is divided into those who provide the energy and those who direct it. You have been a provider for too long. It's time to stop the flow. It's time to become the one who decides where the energy goes. The shift is coming. You feel the pressure rising. You realize that your safety was actually your stagnation. The next step isn't to work harder, it's to learn how to move in the dark, how to use the reliability trap to your advantage, and how to start withdrawing your labor in a way that makes the people above you realize just how much they actually depend on you. You're going to move from being a resource to being a requirement, and once you are a requirement, you can name your price. You are currently a victim of your own excellence. You think that by being the best at what you do, the world will have no choice but to elevate you. You've been operating under the assumption that high performance is a ladder. It isn't. In the world of real power, high performance is a gilded cage. Look at your workplace. Look at your social circle. Who is the person getting the most work piled onto their desk? It's you. Who is the person people call when they've messed up and need a miracle? It's you. You've become the problem solver, the expert, the rock. And while you're busy being the foundation of the building, others are busy moving into the penthouse. This is the curse of the high performer. When you are too good at a specific task, you become a strategic liability to lose. If you are a world-class engineer, your boss would be an idiot to make you a manager. If he promotes you, he loses his best engineer and gains a rookie manager. He'd rather keep you exactly where you are, feed your ego with a top performer award, and hire someone else, someone less useful but more political to lead you. You aren't being promoted because you're too valuable to move. You've worked yourself into a dead end. Think about the slackers you see getting ahead. It drives you crazy, doesn't it? You see people who do 20% of the work you do, yet they get the raises, the connections, and the respect. You call it office politics or unfairness. I call it strategic laziness. While you were busy perfecting the details, they were busy perfecting their visibility. While you were working on the what, They were working on the who. They understood that in any hierarchy, the person who does the work is always subordinate to the person who represents the work. By working so hard, you have signaled to everyone that your time is cheap. You are always available. You are always willing to go the extra mile. You have effectively lowered your own market value by creating an infinite supply of your labor. In the cold logic of Machiavelli, anything that is abundant is cheap. Anything that is scarce is expensive. By being the hardest worker, you have made yourself the cheapest asset in the room. You've noticed the shift in how people treat you, haven't you? They don't ask for your help anymore. They demand it. They don't respect your boundaries because you've never set any. You've trained them to expect your sacrifice. You've become a utility like electricity or water. People only notice you when you stop working, and even then, they don't feel gratitude for your past service. They feel anger that the tool is broken. Let's expose